flings it at him, and it just snaps right to his tummy. I watched that about 6 times. I thought it was the funniest thing I've seen all day. But, yeah, folks, there's a lot of weird stuff. And then there's some grotesque stuff that I'm sure your dark ecstasy people would love, because there's the tree man and you know, just really terrible human grotesque things. But I really I don't know how to deal with that. At least on this show, I'd like to keep it in the positive direction. But so what thoughts do you have? What's the answer to all this, Jeffrey?
Well, that's interesting. One thing that relates to what we've sort of had this philosophy going here through the show, John, that, oh, this isn't all of us. And you said one time, right before a break, I can't remember which one, this, you know, maybe we all used to be like this. And I think that there actually may be some evidence for that, John. Somebody who I talk about a lot is Walter Cruttenden. Great guy, one of the really nice guy. One of the best books I've ever read is Lost Star of Myth and Time, which is not really about Planet X, but a sort of, a variation of the Planet X theory. But it's a hardcore empirical scientific book that it should be a college textbook everywhere, but of course it won't be because it doesn't brainwash. But it's basically about this idea that in our past, humans go through these cycles of consciousness, up, way up, and then down, way down. You know, Atlantis and in Sumeria, those were very high time. You know, whatever time the Old Testament was writing about, you know, humans are intermingling with angels, and you know, then the Vedas, you know, humans intermingling with the gods. So a lot of those stories run parallel in those two traditions, and you know, humans had all this prophetic, you know, really clairvoyant ability and all kinds of supernatural abilities, which we, you know, our scientists just say, oh, that doesn't exist today. So there's a whole bunch, and then, you know, then you find out our religions actually are the more accurate account by light years of reality compared to this fraud called academic science or big money science. And so then you start to wonder, okay, who's right here? And then let me tell you something here. There's a little thing called the God helmet, and I've brought this up on radio before, and some people have told me that they bought one, and I'm waiting to hear. Chris in Australia, if you're listening, give me a report. I'm really wondering if what happened. But it basically does this. It's a helmet invented by a professor named Persinger up at some Ontario University, which slightly changes the magnetic field of your temporal lobe, the one on the side of your head and on each side, and it leads to all kinds of absolutely unbelievable spiritual experiences. Some writers I respect more than anybody almost have done this, met Persinger and did it, and they said the most profound spiritual experiences I ever had were in, you know, when I was in the God helmet, or however they want to put it. And one interesting thing that happened is alien abduction-like experiences would sometimes spontaneously happen within people's consciousness, which I found very, very interesting. Now, that doesn't say that does not prove that alien abduction is just some sort of hallucination. It could be that your consciousness is sort of transforming into the alien abduction state where you're contacting real beings because your consciousness is being altered. Because, you know, a lot of people know if you alter your consciousness in certain ways, you can not necessarily just be right here where you are anymore. You may be interacting with beings and landscapes and so forth, you know, not just right here. But anyway, the point here is that we all know that our sun dictates the magnetism of the whole solar system in a lot of ways. And we know the sun's magnetic field is pretty volatile. So you start to wonder, was there a time, this follows right from Cruttenden's work, and also Cliff High of the WebBot project has done some great work on this as well. And I'm kind of, let me cite those two. Pretty much all my ideas I'm getting here are from them. So this is not my original thought, so I want to get clear. But those two guys have pointed out, and I've got a YouTube video up that combines all the thought of the two and describes all this. And it says, it basically leads to the idea, you wonder if there's been elevated times of magnetism in our solar system in the past, which have led to overall elevations in consciousness globally And those are our high times, our golden ages that our world religions talk about. And you wonder if there was real low times where, like the Dark Ages. And, John, there's all kinds of scientific experiments. Other one, I just thought of another one, Valerie Hunt, which Cruttenden writes all about in Lost Star, Myth and Time, where, they would change the magnetic fields of a person's whole body. Put them in a little chamber and increase the magnetism and then decrease it. When you increase it, people have spontaneous religious experiences. Their intelligence goes way, way up on tests. They feel great. You lower it to real, real low. That people feel violent. They sit there and cry. They can't get up. They don't know why. They feel lost, despiritualized, and their intelligence goes way, way down. I mean, we're talking, you put some of this stuff together as Cruttenden, Cliff High. I mean, I think I'm the one who's put Cruttenden and Cliff High together to get to some further ideas here, but really, let's give the credit to those two. You've taken some of their work, and you get to a pretty interesting theory. Notice I said theory, not fact, about what could be going on here with humans. It could just be that we're sort of an in-between time between super high and super low states, which is all dictated by, well, astrology, really, what's going on with the solar system. So, I mean, I'm kind of flying through some pretty intense stuff, but the ramifications of it, if this is just partially right, this changes everything about what a lot of people have thought about our world and humans in it.
Yes, I have heard that God helmet deal. It was the God part of the mind, right, or the brain, of where somebody was putting out the thought that there's a part in there that is chemical or something electrical, and that's where you get your your Jesus experience. And they were saying, therefore, it's just physiological, right? I mean, it's just a part of the brain that is naturally there, and sometimes you bump your head and you'll see Jesus, and if you don't, you won't. I think what you're saying is more how I would see it is that it allows us to see beyond the veil. This electromagnetic influx that comes and goes throughout history, and also, I guess, that's in that helmet. It doesn't mean that it's all fraudulent. It just is going to help us perceive at will, maybe. I wonder, have you come across anything, Jeffrey, that says that we are getting close to going up, or that we're destined to do something like that?
Yeah, Cruttenden, I interviewed him last year. Fantastic, man. He is just an awesome person. And he, in his book and in the interview, he just freely discussed how, we're in an ascending stage. You just look, we came from the Dark Ages, and you can see us escalating now through time. And it seems like with 2012 or 2018, we're on the verge of something here. Could be sudden, could be gradual. But, I mean, I just noticed in my life, John, I think there's an elevation of consciousness going on. I mean, I'll just take my parents, for example, and it's not just, maturing with age. They've spiritually enlightened, and for no explicable reason. And I see this in people. I don't know, I could go on for a while. I see all kinds of interesting things going on everywhere. And so let me answer your question, though. Cruttenden, holds that we're, for a whole sort of reasons, we're in an ascending scale. And then Cliff High has a lot of work that he's done with, apparently we're ready for a magnetic burst in the sun, which would correlate directly with with Cruttenden ascending. With more magnetism, we ascend more. Now, Dean Radin also has done some, and actually Rentz interviewed him on this very topic several years ago. Great interview, if you can find it on the internet somewhere. But he has a lot to say on this as well, and he gets real specific about it. If the Milky Way is overhead, your psychic ability goes to some level, and if the Milky Way is not overhead, your psychic ability goes to some other level. I mean, he gets really specific about it. And then also that guy, Maurice Cotterell, he writes a lot about the mines in 2012. He gets extremely specific about it. So this is a whole science just brewing, which is basically taking off. The real scientists are always the amateurs, like me and you, John, and a lot of listeners and stuff. And let's just go forward and figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. If the Milky Way has influence on it, then imagine the sun. Maybe that is how it works. Maybe it doesn't, because Because like in dowsing, folks, it doesn't matter if I'm looking for a dime that is with